Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. I'm Cloud Chill, and today I want to talk to you about Crypto.com. The reason I want to talk to you today about Crypto.com is because there's something they did in the past that was kind of shady, and I'm not quite over it, and I think it's important that you should know going forward. So once upon a time, on the 16th of May 2017, there was an ICO for a cryptocurrency payment card. MCO was the cryptocurrency created for that payment card. It was created with half the supply in circulation, and the other half would be held permanently by the team. In order to use this payment card, you'd have to lock up this new coin MCO, and every time you use that card, you'd be paid back a cash back in that cryptocurrency MCO. So later in March 2019, they printed 100 billion of a new coin called Crow, and it would be its own whole payment network. So note that Crow only had 2% of its supply in circulation when it launched. So MCO holders on the app would get airdropped 5 Crow for every MCO they hold, each month for 60 months. But they would, after 7 months, the airdrop stopped. Cards started shipping in the USA, and the airdrops had to stop because of the regulatory issues. The MCO holders were pretty bummed out about that. But we're happy that the card started to ship in other regions, other than just Singapore. Months passed, and there was some advertising for MCO, but not that much. Finally, cards started to ship in Europe, and investors thought that this would be the moment for MCO to finally increase in price. But honestly, most of the team's attention went to Crow and the new exchange with Crow trading pairs. MCO holders were getting worried, and during an Ask Me Anything with the CEO, Kris, they asked if there was going to be a token swap for MCO with Crow, and he said there will never be a token swap. So good news, there was also an MCO moon stopover on the roadmap, so early investors were still very hopeful. Months went by, MCO started disappearing from the major exchanges and getting locked up for 6 months for the card. So things were looking up. Price was also starting to go slightly upwards. Slightly. There was only 15.7 million in supply. So after a while, the price was going to go up. It was basic supply and demand, basic economics. This coin, there was thousands of new users flocking to the app. It was very popular, and so you would assume the price would go up. But kind of suspiciously, the price never really moved. So after a while, the price of MCO started to go down. It was flowing back onto exchanges, and there were some weird events according to some early investors. They were asking questions like, is Crypto.com running a fractional reserve? And the reason they're asking that is because the price would still go down despite all the new users. So maybe they were assuming that despite what was happening on the exchanges, so despite all the new users, there was still more in supply. So where was this supply coming from? Were they actually selling? So when people locked up to get this card, was Crypto.com using that supply to give it to new users? So were they actually locking it up in cold storage? That was kind of the mentality of all these investors. So then it happened. A maintenance update for the app, and the exchange was announced on the 3rd of August. Nothing special. These things have to be done now and then, but a lot of early investors woke up and couldn't believe their eyes. A token swap was almost forced upon them. The MCO token would become useless, and you would need Crow to stake for the card. So instead of using MCO, you now had to use Crow. But the problem was a terrible conversion rate. The conversion rate was 1 MCO for 27 Crow, and a 20% bonus locked on the exchange for 6 months if you swapped before September. So this conversion rate, the rate that they went with eventually was 1 to 33, so 1 MCO to 33 Crow, which is not great. The actual price of MCO to Crow, I believe the fair value was 1 to 100. If you're considering the circulating supply, to get the same value, so to own the same percentage of the network, you would need more than double what they actually gave you. So what's bad about this? For people that understood, this meant that if you owned 1% of the circulating supply of MCO, you now owned 1/6000th of that market share in Crow. So how did they justify this? Well, they base it on the dollar value of the coin. At the last couple of days, uh, they they went back a couple days and said, "Here, we'll give you the better price," before the price dumped so hard. But it was dumping the whole time, so that only gave you a modestly better deal. Um, and so this whole time, leading up to August 3rd, they had been abandoning MCO. Nobody talks about it. Nobody's promoting it, and they were promoting Crow the whole time. Um, so yeah, this whole situation was really fishy, and now let's go look at some of the things. So this is the white paper for MCO. It's a really impressive paper. Like when I go through this, I think, you know, this project's amazing. It has longevity. They put so much work into it. Like they put so much thought and effort, and the economics look amazing, right? So as people use this card and start earning MCO, the economics would make MCO an extremely valuable currency. So, and then they had this roadmap for MCO, right? They had all these plans of things they want to do with the MCO. They want to ship it to a bunch of places. They want to use it for like a credit card, a non-custodial wallet, DeFi borrowing, DeFi whatever, and have it on a bunch of exchanges. And when it came out in 2019, I picked one up immediately. This was like my first this is how I joined cryptocurrency, was buying this card. This was kind of like my first purchase. It was a huge investment, and I was really impressed. I still have the card. It's a really nice card, like it's metal, and I was really impressed because none of their competitors have come out with such a nice card, and they were the first ones to do that. So it was very ambitious. This is the moon stopover that I mentioned earlier. So you can see we never did most of these things, right? They came out with all these plans, but they just abandoned them. Like all this got scrapped. Or sorry, they didn't get scrapped. They're now doing all these things for Crow, right? MCO doesn't even exist anymore. So here is the MCO on exchanges. So there was a lot of people getting excited when MCO was leaving exchanges and the app was becoming extremely popular. So they went from under 1 million users to over 3 million users in just 1 year. So it was staggering growth, staggering. But leading up to August 3rd, you can see that a whole lot of MCO started to enter the exchange. Sorry. So this is really, really when people were kind of pointing the finger and saying, hey, why are you guys selling millions of MCO to the exchanges? You know, we thought you had our back. Like, what's all this? And this is right before MCO stopped existing. So the fact that they made a couple $1 million of profit, like they dumped this coin, and then they're forcing us to trade it. So yeah, it looks bad. Here's the price of MCO versus Crow. This is the part that gets me mad because they didn't tell us that at some point they figured we're abandoning MCO. Like they realize it's a security issue. There's regulations that are going to prevent us from utilizing this. And so they stopped working on it. But they didn't tell us that. Instead, the price of MCO skyrocketed, right? Because everyone that was investing into MCO was having their funds funneled into Crow. So you buy MCO, and then they put it into Crow, and they don't tell us why, and we miss out. I mean, they make a huge profit, and they force us to convert into Crow. So here's the price of MCO. So there were several huge announcements, like the launch of the US. The launch in the US was, so they launch in the US, there's like moderate movement, and then it goes back down. They launch it in EU, and again, there's like some very, very moderate movement, but then it goes back down. So, right. And then here's a tweet from, I mean, there was a from the AMA when he said, we would never convert your MCO to Crow. And so he kind of, you know, that kind of was embarrassing because that's exactly what he did later. Anyways, that's it. I'm a little bit disappointed in crypto.com. I still think they're a great company, and I obviously still like them. So, I mean, I don't want to be upset. I want to like them, and I hope going forward that they can be more honest with the investors and be more transparent. That is all. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day. Peace out.